Hey everyone, I'm coming at you with another great market update. What's going on in the real estate market? Hopefully you find this information useful. This next 15 minutes, hopefully I'll keep it to 15 minutes. I always run over. Hopefully I'll bring you a lot of great data that'll show you what's going on with the real estate market right now, what we expect in the near future. Obviously, the long distant future, we have no idea what's really going to happen. I think it's going to depend a lot on the job markets. But I want you to know what's going on with the real estate market right now. For all my real estate agent friends, lenders, attorneys, my buyers, sellers, any of our Lux Group clients, or anyone out there who might be looking for some information on what's going on in the real estate market, since this has all come out and the COVID-19 is still ongoing. And I mean, I know we're all sitting here at home, working from home as much as possible, hoping that in the coming weeks or month or two, we can start to reopen our economy. And I want you to know what's going to happen, what's happening now, what we see is happening already, and what we see happening in the near future, so you can make good real estate decisions and be in the know. So here we go. Just want to cover some things, topics we're going to cover today, so you get an idea whether it's worth sitting around and listening to me for 15 minutes. Is the real estate activity picking up, or is it still slow? That's one of the things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to pull out the stats. I never make comments about real estate or the market without looking at the stats first. I'm a numbers guy. I like to see the numbers before I make any decisions. I don't go with just my gut feelings, although I do have some good gut feelings at times. I always try to back it up with data. I want to know what's going on. I feel certain things. I want to back it up by data, and I'm going to share that with you today. And what will happen in the next 30 to 45 days? That's one of the things that you guys are probably wondering, especially as business starts to get going and people get out of their houses, what's going to happen with real estate. And then what does the new world of real estate look like? Because all of a sudden, like that, our future in real estate and how you buy and sell homes is going to look different. There's no doubt about it. I just am kind of sitting here wondering when is the day going to come when I feel comfortable in shaking a client's hand and saying, nice to meet you. So it's tough. We're going to be looking at a new world for quite a long time. Maybe in 5 years, we'll look back and say, were we wearing gloves and masks back then? But right now, it's going to look a lot different. So we'll talk about what that new real estate world looks like when it comes to buying and selling homes. All right, real estate activity. So one of the first things I want to look at, what's going on? People looking at houses, people listing, what's going on with the market? I always want to see first, like, who is looking at homes? I was going to pull some data. I'll share that with you next week if you come back to me next week. But a couple of the data points I'm looking at are how many people are looking online, which we all know that's going to be up. People are sitting at home having nothing better to do than look for homes. We know the activity is up online, but I'm more interested in seeing how is the showing activity picking up. Most agents use showing time. It's probably one of the most widely used scheduling tools for real estate agents. And as you can see in this graph, it hit a really bad low, and this is tracking based on the first week of the year activity. You can see those numbers were pretty close between 2019 and 2020, and then it tracks what is the week-to-week showing request versus that first week of January 2020. You can see in 2019 it dipped down. I know we had some weather last year, but then it basically went up and up and up in through April. That's our normal spring market activity. This is March heading into April. This is typically when we see showings really start to rise. This year we saw it really dip low. So, but the good news is that it's really started back end of March, started trickling up, and it's been going up and up and up. And you can see it's really taking a spike now here towards the end of April. So we are seeing more people getting back out there. Everybody's kind of trying to figure out what that means. Most agents and buyers we see are handling themselves appropriately with good PPP and showing homes safely. There's a few things I'm going to suggest later that buyers and agents do that I see sometimes not happening still to limit the risk. But for overall, I think people are heading out there in a safe manner. It started with people that are really in a real need to sell and buy back in end of March when people started getting back out there after this real low point right here. But now it's more also people that really do want to move, that are trying to just, get out of the house to do something. There's a lot of homes out there that are vacant. There's a lot of homes that are safe. There's safe protocols being taken to limit everybody's risks. So some people are feeling like it's an okay time to get back out there. Certainly we feel like if you're not, you shouldn't be out there looking if you're just tire kicking. But if you're serious about buying in the next 2 months, sure, do so appropriately and with good PPP. All right, so the activity is picking up. That's a great sign. I look to see that continue to increase into May, and so more and more buyers will get back out there. I'm hoping that more and more sellers come to the market, and I'm going to show you some more stats to show you why we need sellers to come back into the market if they're going to do so safely and they feel safe and their family is not at high risk. I think it is going to be a good time for them to start coming back on the market in May. So if you're thinking about selling, I would consider coming back onto the market. And if you're on the market now, just stay on the market. I have seen some people withdraw, which is fine. It makes perfect sense, especially if they're at high risk. But I do see more listings coming on and more opportunities for buyers in May and into June. So one of the things I looked at was active listings this year versus last year. You can see in this chart on the left, we had 1,850 active listings on 4/13/19 versus 1,454 this year on 4/24. We know listings are down because of people not coming to the market. So we hope that there's a good pent-up amount of new listings that will hit the market next month. But either way, it's down almost 20%. So that doesn't spell to me any kind of immediate drastic change in real estate pricing, because the demand is really there and the supply isn't. So it's all about supply and demand. And right now the supply is really low, which is a good sign as we come out of this, that hopefully more people will be listing to kind of catch those numbers back up compared to last year. But we'll see what happens. I also looked at 3/24 versus 4/24. I want to see from a month ago, how does it look? We had 1,370 actives on the market and 1,454 now. So people have been coming on the market with their listings. So that's a good sign. There have been some sellers that need to move that are coming on the market still. Most of the sellers I see coming on are serious sellers. They have a good and immediate reason to sell. And so they're putting their houses on the market, which is a great sign. All right, so now here's some really interesting stats. Worcester County contingent under agreement in the last week. There's 207. So that's how many properties went contingent or under agreement just in the last week alone. That's a lot in Worcester County. And most of the stats I'm sharing with you today are Worcester County. So as I really wanted to, that's our major market for the Lux Group, and that's where a lot of my agent friends are. So we are really keeping this to Worcester County. But next week we'll talk about statewide. So come back, watch me again next week if you want to see the statewide stats. Worcester County total contingent under agreements total in the county is 1,690. Remember where I said that we have 1,454 active listings in the market right now? We have 1,690 more that are contingent. That means we have more contingent under agreement than we have listed. That's crazy. That shows you how much demand there was to how much supply there is. Worcester County available listings, 1,462 we talked about. Worcester County total sold in the last 7 days, 163. And I'm also tracking this week to week for our agents and our clients. And the last 4 weeks, from 4 weeks ago, there was 162 solds, then 230 the next week, 132, 163 last week. So we're averaging about 160 to 180. 230 was the end of the month. That was a spike. Obviously, that's normal for the end of the month. But if you look at 1,462 available listings and over 160 on average are going contingent every week, we're eating up 10% of the inventory every week. It means if nobody listed, that in 10 weeks we could be out of inventory. That's crazy to think of. Completely out of inventory. We know that's not going to happen, but I do think that supply is going to get tighter and tighter unless we see more and more sellers coming into the market. So it is going to be a good time to sell in the next few months, for sure. No doubt about it. But I want to talk about some catch-22s with that you have to consider as sellers. So if you're a seller that's watching, keep watching. I got some important information to share with you. Newly listed in April, only 49. So we're seeing a lot of sellers holding back. That's way lower than normal. So they're really holding back, waiting for them to feel safe to put their house on the market and to feel like there's more people out there looking to buy. So if you're thinking about listing the next month, really talk to your agent closely about when the timing should be. Year to date. I wanted to look at year to date and see what happened last year versus this year. How do we look this year versus last year? So Worcester County year to date sales are 2,399. Worcester County year to date last year, so from 01/01 2019 to 04/24 2019, there was 2,460 versus 2,399 this year. We're not down that much from last year. Total solds last year through end of May were 3,607. The reason I wanted to see this is I wanted to then look at, if we looked at up here, we saw that there's a total of 1,690 contingents and under agreements. We know all those won't close by the end of May, but let's say 1,400 of those contingent under agreements close by the end of May. That would put us at almost equal sales this year versus last year. That's pretty good. If this whole COVID thing wasn't going on, I think numbers would be higher, but we can't consider that to be a terrible real estate market. So I also want to look at what's the average sale price in Worcester County last year, year to date, versus this year, year to date. And I'm not surprised to see it, but the average is up 8.9% in Worcester County. The average sale price is up 8.9% last year over this year, year to date. That's some great numbers. Do I expect that trend to continue? Probably not. I think buyers have certainly gotten more conservative. Rates have kind of, they're still great, but they've gone up a little bit where they were maybe a month ago, and they may settle back down again. But overall, I think buyers are getting a little bit more conservative with their wallets, and sellers need to be thinking about that as they get ready to list their house. And that's why I wanted to talk for just a couple minutes about selling this year and what you need to be considering if you're thinking about selling. You cannot overprice your house anymore. I'm seeing it with some of our current listings in the market, and I get it. Before all COVID really hit hard, you could list your house a little higher than what the comp said and see what the buyers are willing to pay. But there's a two-edged sword with that now that makes you really have to think hard about whether or not you want to overprice your house. You literally, in my opinion, you can't do it anymore. Here's why. One, buyers are more conservative with their wallets. They're not willing to just go crazy again. But the second and bigger one is appraisals are not coming in. And appraisals will continue to not come in at crazy prices. Why? Because the appraisal is not for the buyer. The appraiser is to protect the lender's position on the property. If they feel a market is a little bit not sure where it's going to go, they don't want to appraise a property higher than what the real comp value is, or adjusted comp value of the property. So appraisers are going to be tighter. We've seen two properties in our office that the appraisals didn't come in on. And there was some mistakes that I felt were made on the appraisal when it came to the adjustments. But one of them I really couldn't argue with. And the buyer wanted to pay, I think it was about $15,000 over what the comps had shown and what the agent had kind of shown that seller when they listed the property. And I think they worked it out, but it was not an easy situation. So sellers, you need to think about really listening to your agent, taking their advice, looking at the data. An agent who's listing your house or coming to talk about where to list it needs to have a ton of data in their hands. They need to have all kinds of paperwork showing all the different value sources: Zillow value source, Redfin values, Zillow, Real.com value, RPR, which is another valuation product, First Night, First American, Black Knight, Remine. Ask your agent those questions. We have a summary sheet that we share with our sellers, and we put in all the data from all the different valuation sources, including our manual comp analysis, to try to figure out not only how our buyer's going to look at it, but how is an appraiser going to look at it. Because you know what? If we fool a buyer, but we into paying more than they should have on a property, we're not, definitely not now versus 3 months ago. We're not going to fool the appraiser. The appraiser is going to look at the hard data, and you're going to be disappointed when they come back and say, I know the buyer wanted to pay this, but it's only worth this. So keep that in mind. Your agent needs to have virtual tours, video tours, etc., Matterport tours. It's important as agents and as sellers to make sure the agent is putting full product information out there. The game used to be, let's get them to the house, we'll sell them the house in the house. Can't do that anymore. We really have to try to limit the number of showings, making sure it's serious buyers, and make sure they have every access to they can to view a home online, inside, outside, every angle. That's why I like even the really, walk around the house, online, Facebook open houses, anything that you can do to help sell a buyer the home without them having to endanger themselves or you while they're in your home. So I expect more of that stuff to continue to grow from a real estate perspective. And what you will see is you're going to see less showings. It's going to be a mere fact that people aren't going to want to risk their lives as much by going out there to see your house if they think they can, determine that it's not the house for them before they get there. It's important that from a buyer's perspective to do the drive-bys, check pull up your Google Maps and check the commute to work, commute to things you like to do before you schedule a showing. And then when you do think it's the property for you, or it could be, and you really are ready to step forward into a showing, make sure that your agent is helping you with PPP. If you've got a mask already, hopefully get one, because I know masks are limited supply. Your agents should have gloves, or you should have rubber gloves. Most of the time what we're doing with Sowers is telling the Sour, you turn on all the lights, open all the closet doors, so that we have to touch as little as possible in the house. Agents should be walking through with their buyers saying, I'll touch anything you want me to open, let me know, I'll open it. So the agent can also go through with wipes and wipe down any touch surface. So there's a lot of protocol going on out there that we need to take care of and be thinking about. And you should be trusting your agent with the data and trusting, everything that you're in the hands of a good real estate agent. It's now more than ever important to be with a good real estate agent, one that's experienced or has experience behind them, that is serious about the business and serious about not only your financial future, but your safety and your health. All right, what do I expect in the next 4 months? Inventory will come up, but it's going to get eaten up as fast as it comes on. It will feel like a really strong market in the coming months. Trust me, it will. Prices will likely look level. They may for a short period look up, but some of that's going to be squashed by the appraisals, and otherwise it's going to look pretty level. If we look ahead to a year from now, I can promise you Worcester County is not going to be up 8% again. Well, if I'm wrong, call me out on it next year and I'll buy you lunch. But I don't see it being up. It's probably going to be fairly level unless the job market is really hurting after this. If it is, then we could see some declines come winter and next spring. So we'll see what happens with that. Is it a good time to sell? Yes, good time to sell. Is it a good time to buy? Yes. If you find the house you love and you want to live in the next 5 years, buy it. The rates are great. You can be in a house you love. And if for some of you that are going to be working from home a lot more in the future, get the house with the office, an extra room for an office. It'll be worth it. Trust me. I've been trying to work with my kids at home with no at-home office. It's not easy. Some buyers will be out of the market because of the credit changes, although I just saw today one mortgage company has now relowered their limit, their credit score to 620 or better. They were all moving up towards 640, 660, 680. Some of them are starting to drop back down to 620. I don't know if they're going to go back to 580 like they were before, but there are some great programs out there now. Unfortunately, some people with their debt-to-income ratio, temporary job losses, and credit will be knocked out of the market, especially early on. But I see that changing this fall where some of them will make it back in. Some of the programs will lighten up. They'll get back to work. They haven't eaten up too many of their reserves, and they're going to be able to buy this fall and winter. So some will come back, some won't. But it'll still be a decent demand heading into fall, in my opinion. It'll be crucial to watch the job market this fall to see how many of these millions and millions and millions of Americans get back to work. If they don't, the other problem we could have is people losing their homes or having to financially feel the stress of having to move their home before they go under, or we'll have more short sales and foreclosures, and that's a product for a declining market. Always about supply and demand. As long as the supply is in check and you don't have overly motivated sellers, then you can protect against major declines in the pricing. but it just depends on how many motivated sellers have to get back in the market. If there's some real motivated sellers, you could see the sellers start to fight each other downward on price. I hope that doesn't happen. The new real estate world. Buyers will do more research from home. Zoom will be the new coffee chat. There will be no handshakes for quite a while. There'll be less showings, but more deals per showing. Open houses won't be what they used to. I don't really like them. Group showings, back-to-back showings, I don't think open houses where you make people stand in line like the grocery store outside are going to be a good idea. So things will change with open houses. Masks, gloves, and booties will be the new norm for a long period of time. People are just used to it now. At first, we kind of felt like, man, is this going to scare everybody from buying? It's not. It's just people know that they have to protect themselves. It's not scaring anybody at this point. Agents should ask more questions prior to showings. Have you driven by? Have you looked at the Google Maps? I know you are at work here. It looks like it's going to be a little longer commute than you should. We used to just kind of go out because we liked getting out of our house, showing houses, and hey, this probably isn't the house for them, but let's go out and show them a house. We can't do that any longer. We shouldn't do that any longer. We really should ask more questions prior to the showings. Make buyers get your pre-approval before going to view any homes. I'm telling all our agents now, there's no reason to go into a seller's home and risk anybody's health unless you've gotten a pre-approval from a lender. Guidelines have tightened up. And if you are making offers, make sure your pre-approval is up to date within April. Anything older than that, you're going to get the question anyway. So just have your buyer get an updated pre-approval to make sure they're still financeable and that things haven't changed for them. But buyers, get your pre-approvals before you go out and risk anybody's health on showing homes. Buyers should do their due diligence, and so should the agent. And loans are going to be harder to get for a while, but if you're well qualified, you're still going to get a great home loan at a great rate. So that's all I have. I don't know how many minutes I'm into this, but if you ever have any questions, the Lux Group is always here for you. I'm always here for you. My name is Tracy Barber, founder of the Lux Group, and my number is 978-400-1617. Feel free to call me anytime. Find me on Facebook, Tracy Barber. You'll find me, and or Tracy Barber Real Estate Expert. You can find me there. .com too. You can find me there too. But hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you enjoyed this information, and I will see you next week.